It was supposed to be the happiest day of my cousin Sarah's life, a beautiful outdoor wedding at a secluded vineyard estate, sun shining, birds chirping, everything picture perfect. But it very quickly turned into a scene out of a disaster movie, and somehow I, the quiet veteran who usually just tries to blend into the background, found myself right in the middle of it. I'm still replaying the moments in my head, the chaos, the fear, the split-second decisions. And honestly, I have to ask you, was I wrong for taking charge the way I did? For letting my military instincts completely override the sanctity of someone's wedding day? Tell me if you would have done the same thing. My name's Alex, and I served 2 tours in the Marines. When I got out, I struggled a bit, as many do. Crowds, loud noises, sudden movements, they all took some getting used to. I've found a pretty good rhythm now, a quiet life, a steady job, and a fantastic support system in my family. My cousin Sarah has always been particularly close to me. We grew up practically inseparable, sharing secrets and dreams. She was like the little sister I never had, and seeing her find such happiness with Mark, her fiancé, genuinely warmed my heart. Mark seemed like a decent guy, a bit reserved, but clearly adored Sarah. Their wedding had been meticulously planned for over a year, every detail chosen with care. Sarah, being Sarah, had even asked me, jokingly, if I could handle security. Knowing my background, I just laughed it off, promising to keep an eye out for rogue champagne corks. Little did I know how prophetic that joke would turn out to be. The wedding day itself started beautifully. I arrived early, helping with some last-minute decor adjustments. The vineyard was stunning, nestled in rolling hills, with rows of grapevines stretching as far as the eye could see. The ceremony was set up on a manicured lawn overlooking a small lake, and the reception area was a short walk away, under a large, open-sided tent. Guests started arriving, a mix of family and friends, all dressed in their finest. My aunt, Sarah's mom, was bustling around, beaming, occasionally wiping a happy tear from her eye. Everything felt joyous and serene. I found my seat towards the back, wanting to be unobtrusive, just enjoying the atmosphere. Sarah walked down the aisle, radiant in her white gown, and Mark looked like he'd won the lottery. Their vows were sweet and heartfelt, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house. After the ceremony, we all moved to the reception tent. The band started playing, cocktails were flowing, and the air was filled with laughter and conversation. I was chatting with my uncle, catching up, when a subtle shift in the background noise caught my attention. It was just a faint, almost imperceptible change, but my ears, trained by years in noisy, unpredictable environments, picked it up. A low, continuous rumble that didn't sound like part of the band's music, nor like any of the farm equipment I'd seen earlier. I tried to dismiss it as nothing, a tractor from a neighboring farm, perhaps. But the rumble grew, slowly but steadily, and an uneasy feeling began to settle in my gut. I excused myself from my uncle, walking towards the edge of the tent, trying to pinpoint the source. The band was still playing, oblivious, and most guests were still engrossed in their conversations. Then I saw it, or rather, felt it. The ground beneath my feet started to vibrate, a low tremor that intensified with each passing second. And then I heard the distinct sound, no longer a rumble, but a roar, accompanied by the unmistakable cracking and splintering of wood. My heart hammered against my ribs. This wasn't a tractor. This was something far more dangerous. Looking towards the road that led up to the vineyard, through a clearing in the trees, I saw it. A massive, out-of-control logging truck, barreling down the winding, narrow road that connected the vineyard to the main highway. It was clearly going too fast, much too fast for the sharp turn at the bottom of the hill, which led directly past the reception tent. And it wasn't just the truck itself. The back was loaded with huge, unsecured logs, shifting precariously. Panic, cold and sharp, seized me for a split second, but then instinct took over. The years of training, the countless drills, the high-stress situations I'd faced, all came flooding back. My mind went into overdrive, assessing, calculating, reacting. I didn't think. I just acted asterisk. The truck was maybe 30 seconds away from hitting the sharpest part of the curve, right where the tent was most vulnerable. There were over 100 people in that tent, completely unaware of the impending catastrophe. The band was still playing a lively tune. Sarah and Mark were slow dancing, lost in their newlywed bliss. I had to do something, and I had to do it now asterisk. I took a deep breath, and then I let out the loudest, most commanding shout I could muster. "Everyone down, get down now, move." My voice, amplified by years of giving orders in chaotic situations, cut through the music and the chatter like a knife. For a moment there was a stunned silence, then confusion. Heads turned, people looked at me, bewildered. The band faltered, but then the roar of the truck became undeniable, closer, louder, and the ground began to shake violently. The first few logs, dislodged by the truck's speed, tumbled off the back, crashing into the tree line further up the hill with a sound like thunder. That was all it took. The collective realization hit everyone. Chaos erupted. People started screaming, pushing, trying to figure out what was happening. It was a terrifying free-for-all, a stampede of panicked guests. But in that chaos, my training kicked in even harder. I pointed to a clear area away from the tent, a Y. Open lawn where the parking lot was, to the parking lot, now, run. I yelled, my voice hoarse. I started physically moving people, gently but firmly, guiding them, trying to create an orderly evacuation route. I spotted Sarah and Mark, frozen in the center of the dance floor, their faces etched with terror. "Sarah, Mark, move now," I shouted, sprinting towards them. I grabbed Sarah's arm, pulling her. Mark, snapping out of his daze, grabbed her other arm, and we practically dragged her towards the edge of the tent. As we did, the truck rounded the corner, tires screeching, smoke billowing. It was clear the driver had lost control. The trailer, heavy with logs, started to fishtail wildly. The first few logs slammed into the outermost tent poles, tearing through the fabric, splintering wood with sickening cracks. The screams intensified. The entire tent structure began to buckle. I pushed Sarah and Mark towards the open lawn, yelling at them to keep running. I turned back, scanning the still chaotic tent. My aunt was huddled under a table, frozen with fear. My uncle was trying to pull her out. Others were still scrambling, disoriented. My eyes darted to the truck. It was now careening directly towards the center of the tent, moving slower, but still too fast, still a deadly projectile. The driver was frantically trying to regain control, but it was too late. I knew with absolute certainty that if that truck hit the main support structure, the entire thing would collapse, crushing anyone still inside. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have kept running to safety, or would you have turned back into the danger? My decision was instant. There was a section of the tent that hadn't been directly hit yet, where several guests were still trapped, unable to get out, some paralyzed by fear, others trying to help those who had fallen. I knew I couldn't stop the truck, but maybe, just maybe, I could mitigate some of the damage, or at least buy a few more seconds for those people. I saw a large, sturdy picnic table that had been pushed aside for the dance floor. It was heavy, but if I could move it, even a little, I could create a temporary barrier, a shield against the immediate impact. It was a desperate, probably foolish, thought, but I didn't have time for sensible thoughts. Adrenaline surged through me. I ran towards the table, yelling at anyone nearby to help me. A few younger, stronger guests, still in shock but responding to my authoritative tone, instinctively moved to assist. Together, we heaved the massive wooden table, dragging it, scraping loudly against the ground, positioning it between the oncoming truck and the group of terrified people. It was a futile gesture, really, against a multi-ton logging truck, but it was something. As we got it into place, the truck slammed into the main support pole of the tent with a deafening crash. The entire structure groaned, fabric ripped, and the tent began to sag inwards, threatening to collapse. Simultaneously, several more logs, dislodged by the impact, flew off the truck. One, a thick, heavy pine, spun through the air like a missile, heading directly for the spot where my aunt and uncle were still struggling. Without thinking, I pushed my uncle, forcing him and my aunt behind the makeshift table barrier we'd just created. The log hit precisely where they had been seconds before, splintering the ground, sending shards of wood and debris flying. The sound was deafening. Dust and smoke filled the air. The truck, now partially lodged in the mangled tent, finally shuddered to a halt, the engine dying with a final, choked cough. Silence, stark and absolute, descended upon the vineyard. It was only broken by the whimpers and cries of the guests. The reception tent was a wreck, a twisted mess of fabric, poles, and shattered furniture. The truck sat half, embedded in what was left of it, logs strewn everywhere. Miraculously, everyone seemed to be alive, though many were bruised, scratched, and deeply shaken. I did a quick visual scan, my mind still in tactical mode. Several people had minor injuries, mostly cuts and scrapes from falling debris, or twisted ankles from the panic. My aunt was sobbing, clinging to my uncle, but unharmed. Sarah and Mark came running back, their faces streaked with tears, looking for me. They found me amidst the wreckage, checking on a guest who had hit her head. Sarah threw her arms around me, sobbing, "Alex, you saved us. You saved everyone." Mark just gripped my shoulder, his eyes wide with gratitude and shock. Emergency services arrived quickly, summoned by panicked phone calls. Paramedics tended to the injured, police secured the scene, and fire department personnel assessed the structural damage. The truck driver, it turned out, had suffered a brake failure on the steep, winding road. He was shaken but physically okay, though facing a mountain of charges. The wedding was, understandably, over. The dream reception was a mangled disaster zone, but everyone was safe, and that was the only thing that truly mattered. In the days that followed, the story spread like wildfire. My family, friends, and even some strangers hailed me as a hero. Sarah and Mark insisted I was the reason their wedding day, despite the chaos, didn't end in tragedy. They even started calling me Hero Alex, which made me incredibly uncomfortable. I didn't feel like a hero. I just reacted. It was the training, the instinct, the years of conditioning taking over. I often wonder if anyone else would have reacted the same way, or if it was truly my military background that gave me the clarity and decisiveness in that terrifying moment. The vineyard eventually rebuilt, and Sarah and Mark had a smaller, more intimate ceremony a few months later. I was there, of course, a little more relaxed this time, though I still found myself scanning the horizon for any unexpected rumbles. The whole experience left me with a strange mix of emotions. Pride, yes, that I could help, but also a profound sense of the randomness of life, how quickly joy can turn to terror. It also made me appreciate the quiet moments even more. So, that's my story. It's still surreal to think about. That day, a simple wedding turned into a test of instinct, and I just hope I passed. If you were on my side, and you think I did the right thing, please like this video. Subscribe for more stories like this, where ordinary days turn into extraordinary challenges. And seriously, I want to know your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section below. What would you have done? Would you have stayed to help, or would you have run to safety? I'll see you all in the next story.